So, I was browsing Facebook the other day, and I came across this post by 9gag. Could a lightsaber cut through adamantium? I thought about commenting that it could. Then I changed my mind, then again, and again, and it went on for a while. That's when I realized I'd been rambling on for way too long, and it really shouldn't be typing all of this in a comment. I should make another episode of GTI. It's been a while, long enough for me to make another one at least. So here you go guys, another G2I, brought to you thanks to 9gag. They're actually good for something, huh, internet? Now, we start with our question. Let's break it down, shall we? The question is, could a lightsaber cut through adamantium? This means, is a lightsaber hot enough to melt adamantium? So we need to know a couple of things. How hot is a lightsaber? What lightsaber is the hottest? What lightsaber comes closest to cutting through adamantium? And what is adamantium's melting temperature? The last one on the list? What will happen to the adamantium? So we start out with the first question. How hot is a lightsaber? This one's going to be a bit hard to tackle because there's so many different ones, but let's start out with the most common one, the blue lightsaber. What's the lightsaber made of? Easy, right? Light, it's in the name. But that's where you'd be wrong. See, a lightsaber is actually powered by something called a lightsaber crystal, which doesn't have to be a crystal, but most of the time it is. So let's take that for granted. Now, to quote Jaden Cole, the main playable character in Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, the crystal is not by itself the power source of the weapon. Like the Force user, the crystal is attuned to the Force. Without that attunement, the crystal is just a rock, and while non-Force users could probably ignite and wield a lightsaber, provided the crystal was properly attuned to the Force, all that lightsaber would be for him is a shaft of superheated plasma. But for a Jedi, the lightsaber becomes small. It's a manifestation of the Jedi's connection to the Force. So here it says superheated plasma. Plasma? Like the stuff that makes neon lights light up, or the stuff that makes little electrical wire thingies in plasma globes. Okay, so it's not light, it's plasma. The colors of plasma are the result of the relaxation of electrons in excited states to lower energy states after they've recombined with ions. That basically means that the more excited the electron is before it combines with ions, the higher the color in the electromagnetic spectrum. So, if the electron is really excited before combining, the color would be closer to blue or purple. But if it isn't that excited at all, the color would be closer to orange or even red. This means that the Sith's lightsabers have pretty non-excited electrons, and the Jedi lightsabers have really excited electrons. We also know that when something is really hot, it glows. Like when you have a fever and you start getting redder cheeks and a redder forehead. And while your fire looks bluish closer to the fuel source and gets more red along the way to the top of the flame. This means that the blue lightsabers are hotter than green ones, and they're both hotter than red ones. But the hottest one must be purple or pink, and there's only one lightsaber that I know of that's pink, Mace Windu's. So how do we determine how hot Windu's lightsaber is? There had to be a joke there somewhere. Damn it. Well, since plasma is a heated gas, again, fall jokes, okay. It can be determined by the same equation we use to determine the color of flames, Planck's law. Now, using radiation constants, we can simplify it to this. So let's see what this means. We're calculating the wavelength with this equation, determined by L delta T. In this case, that's about 400 nanometers, which is 4 times 10 to the minus 7th power in meters. C1L, the first radiation constant, is equal to this. And C2 is equal to this. Now we know that delta is the latent heat. In this case, that's 213 kilojoules per kilogram, the latent heat of oxygen. And lastly, T, the temperature, aka the thing we want to know. So let's fill in the numbers and see how far we come. Okay, now we have this. Now we have only one number that we don't know, and that's T. And of course, that's the one we really want to know. So we rewrite the entire thing. Now we have this, where V is equal to this. Now divide the entirety by 213, because now we're actually calculating 213t, and you end up with this, which is a solvable number. So let's solve it. it returns this. That's a huge number, which, on such a big scale, would shine so much, it'd probably be enough to blind you. Now that we've got that, let's see if we can find out at what temperature adamantium melts. To find that out, we obviously need the melting point of adamantium, which is... no one knows apparently. So let's check out what the strongest metal on Earth is so far. Metal. It's a non-oxidizing, near-indestructible metal made by humans, a near-perfect match for our non-German, non-zombie Wolfenstein. So, what's the melting point of metal? Well, according to freepatentsonline.com, Metal's claims includes the line reading, examples of thermal properties which can differ between layers of sections include coefficient of thermal expansion, melting point, thermal conductivity, and specific heat. So this means that each layer has a different melting point. Thus, metal is less an alloy and more like a composite. So, what layers is the composite made up of? According to the claims, the layers may contain manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, silver, gold, and or copper, of which iron has the highest melting point, 1536 degrees Celsius, or 1819 Kelvin. What's fascinating though is that the boiling point of iron is a mere 2861 degrees Celsius, or 3134 Kelvin. This means that, in case the light of the lightsaber hasn't blinded you yet, the metal will appear to vanish before the blade even touches it. The area around it would be so hot the metal would boil and vaporize, pretty much just disappear in the air like it was nothing. So let's give adamantium a second shot for what it's worth, and say it's an alloy containing carbon, the same stuff diamonds are made of, when put under high pressure and temperature. It has a boiling point of 4827 degrees Celsius, or 5100 Kelvin. Now let's look at an alloy containing carbon, and the second best high melting points after carbon, tungsten, also known as tungsten carbide. It's an alloy of, you guessed it, tungsten and carbon. And it has a melting point of 2870 degrees Celsius. That's 3143 Kelvin. And it has a boiling point of 6000 degrees Celsius, 6273 Kelvin. Which is astoundingly high compared to the other alloys, but it's still only a little under 6300 Kelvin. It doesn't even come close to Mace Windu's blinding light of purple manliness. Again, the jokes. And 304,180,729,000 Kelvin. So we know about the purple lightsaber, but how about the most underwhelming one, the Sith's red lightsaber? We can use Planck's law from before and replace the 4 times 10 to the minus 7 with 7.5 times 10 to the minus 7. Because that's the lowest possible wavelength associated with the color red in our eyes before we stop seeing it and it turns into infrared. Now replacing the value of B and recalculating, I found out that the temperature of a Sith lightsaber is still around 5,392,258,100 Kelvin. A lot less, yes, but still way above the melting point of tungsten carbide. Now I do have to say that adamantium was able to withstand the Human Torch's nova blasts, which reaches temperatures similar to that of a nuclear explosion, said to reach up to about 1,000,000 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 555,811 Kelvin. Still, no match for the lightsaber. Adamantium, you're not safe here. So, maybe your dreams of seeing Wolverine beat up Emperor Palpatine can't be followed. But maybe on our next episode we'll have something to discuss which can wipe out the entire human race. Who knows? You can only find out if you stay tuned for the next episode of Game Theme Investigation. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.